Today we're going to talk about something that will impact almost everyone who codes, and this is something that will affect you on a day-to-day basis, which is developer habits. You may have seen my last video where I shared advice I learned from working in tech for 20 years. I was the 19th engineer at WhatsApp, and last time I shared my advice video while I was traveling in Hawaii. And guess where I am today? I am in Hamburg, Germany. I'm going to take you around to 7 different locations where I share my 7 different tips. So come along with me. Number one is to not get stuck on a tech stack. A lot of tech YouTubers tend to argue about what is the best stack, and they have strong preferences on what should be the absolute best, and there is no such thing as an absolute best. Every tech stack has pros and cons, and you should really be choosing them based on the situations. So really evaluate the pros and cons and pick the one that's appropriate. When you join a new company also, don't worry too much if they use a tech stack that you're not familiar with. When I was working as a software engineer at Meta, we used to change languages all the time, and that's why when we interview people, we just look for smart people who can learn new languages. So don't get too stuck on tech stacks and be flexible. Okay, as soon as I stepped outside to start filming, it started raining, so I have my hat and my rainproof jacket on, or a rain resistant jacket on. I'm just gonna brave the rain. Here we go. Tip number 2 is to find a consistent way of getting in the zone. When you're coding versus like chit-chatting with your coworkers, there's a lot of context switching involved, and it usually takes like 15-30 minutes to get into the zone. And what works for me might not work for you, and everyone's slightly different. So find the ways that work really well for you to get into the zone. Like for example, I always mute every single notification on my phone. I don't even know what my ringer sounds like. All of my messages, Slack, email, WhatsApp messages, those are always muted. I want to be able to check my messages when I want to check my messages. And I've always been like this as long as I can remember, because I've always been coding and I like to do deep work. And when you're coding and you get that notification, it kind of distracts you and you have to get out of the zone to read the message and then get back into coding, which would take another 15-30 minutes to get into. Coding is like a marathon, it's not a sprint, and you need to be able to find ways to consistently get into the zone. And talking about coding being a marathon, you want to really think of yourselves as athletes, which may be funny because we don't actually physically move, but think of yourself as athletes in a way that you really want to take care of your physical health, and that's tip number 3. Because when you're coding, you're going to be stationary a lot of times. It's typical to get into coding for 3-4 hours. That's why a lot of the tech companies will offer standing desk. I used to have them in the office for the longest time, and that was actually one of my first purchases that I made when I started working from home after COVID. So think about standing versus sitting. Think about your posture, how you're sitting. I used to have back pain and shoulder pain when I wasn't thinking about these things. I also want to think of going on walks, or some people like to go running or play ultimate frisbee with coworkers. Find whatever ways that works for you to maintain your physical health and really take care of your bodies. You might be wondering why I'm in Hamburg. We do have family here. We try to come here regularly, and I like Hamburg because there's a lot of like these cool spaces in Hamburg. Look at this plaza. I don't think it's a huge tourist town. I don't really see a lot of tourists other than myself. Pretty chill here, even compared to Berlin. We just had brunch with a friend who lives in Berlin. Berlin is a much bigger city and it's much more bustle and hustle, whereas in Hamburg it's pretty chill and quiet, and people are super nice here. So I really love coming here, except for the rain, but it's not too bad. It's kind of like Seattle or London.
That's good.
Another common habit that a lot of new developers miss is to keep your code simple. As a software engineering manager, I have managed interns, new grads, and even senior developers. One of the interns that I knew shared an interesting story. She got assigned to her first project, and the only solution that she could think of was a brute force way of solving it. And she sat on it for days thinking, oh, this can't be it. I must think of a better way to do this. And after about a week or so, her manager got frustrated and decided to solve it himself. And guess how he did it? He did it the brute force way. So sometimes simple is better. Key is to think about the longevity of the code. Is it going to be easy to update and maintain in the future? You want to make sure, all the variable names are consistent. You're following the consistency of the code. And a lot of times, simplicity is better. Another tip related to that example is your ability to ask for help. This is another area that I do see a lot of people struggle with. Before I share the next tip, I did stop by Joe and the Juice for a quick lunch break. Even though we have Joe and the Juice in the Bay Area, it just tastes completely different. When I have it in Europe, it's so much better. It is a Danish company, so I wonder if the ingredients are different. I also do super crave spicy food whenever I'm in Germany because I've noticed German food is usually not very spicy. So I do always get the spicy tuna sandwich, and plus the gluten-free bread is really good. Anyways, going back to the tip, unfortunately, there are such things as asking a dumb question. Here is how you can ask smart questions. So first, you want to try to do the research on whatever you're trying to solve. Chances are that you're not the first person to encounter this issue, so you can search on Stack Overflow. This is how real software engineers do their work too. So look at what other people have asked, what are the different solutions that other people have tried, and try those out for yourself. And I guarantee you, most of the time, you will be able to find your own solutions by just doing some research. Nowadays, there are also so many great AI tools that you can reference, or ask ChatGPT or Google Bard. There are so many resources you can get help from and learn to solve things. And the reason why I say this is because you want to be able to develop the muscle to solve problems on your own. Problem solving is a great skill that you want to learn to develop. Now, occasionally there will be problems that you really cannot solve because you are actually facing a challenging problem. And after about a day or so, you still can't solve the problem. That's when you ask for help. When you do ask for help, first, clearly explain what you're trying to do and what are the different things that you have tried. Say, I have tried A and B, and these are the results that I have seen. Because basically, you're asking for the other person to volunteer their time to help you out. So you want to make it as effective and efficient as possible by stating your goals and all the different approaches you have already tried. Then you want to try to find the solution together. So next time you're stuck, try this out. And this is something that you would have to embrace as a developer, the ability to learn. And if you don't find joy in learning, being a developer might be a tough career for you. But also, once you start going and you start learning to really learn, learning is going to be much easier because you're going to find ways to learn that's really going to work well for you. And you often see a lot of smart people who love learning. Learning doesn't necessarily have to be anything fancy or difficult. I recommend you experiment with different ways of learning and have different videos on how to find best tutorials or read research papers. So check out those videos if you struggle with learning. This is just another skill set that you can develop. The more you do it, the easier it gets. I do love going to the grocery stores whenever I'm traveling because you get to really experience the culture and the food at the grocery store. I like to experiment, try different snacks and drinks and see which one is good. You never know what will surprise you. And a lot of times the best way to really learn new things is to just try things out. Working in tech, you will be in new environments every now and then. You're not going to be working at the same company forever. So when you do go to a new environment, try things out, see if it works. And I guess that kind of ties into my first tip. Don't get stuck on the tech stack and be flexible, right? Okay, I'm back in my room and there you have it, 7 developer habits. Don't get stuck on tech stack. Develop a consistent way to get into the zone and take care of your physical health. Keep it simple. Ask smart questions. Always be learning. Now, if you want to learn more about my days in the life as a software engineer, watch this video next. Otherwise, YouTube thinks you should watch this one next.